This call is being recorded.
Okay, as you guys know, I always like to start my calls off with a quote. Tonight I have two for you. The first one is, when the past calls, let it go to voicemail. It has nothing new to say. And the second quote, the only time you should ever look back is to see how far you've come. The title of tonight's message is Never Go Back. So I want to first of all thank everyone for taking the time to listen in and investing in on yourself. Trust me, it's going to pay big dividends in the long run. For anyone that wants to go back and listen to this call, you can go back, or if anyone knows someone that didn't get on the call, because we can only have 100 people on the live call. And right now we have a couple hundred people a week, close, almost hitting over 500 people a week are listening to these calls. Obviously not through the live call because we can only have 100 on, but I just checked the stats between the iTunes podcast and all the other places, the website. They can go and listen to it at 718-867-6700. The new call will be up by tomorrow, and that will be on for the entire week. If you missed last week's call, you could still call that number tonight and still be able to hear last week's call. You can also go to www.powerandahallhour.com. You could subscribe to it in the podcast store in iTunes, on Stitcher, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, or we're on, right now we're on like 2 or 3 internet radio stations, and probably by the end of the year we should be on at least 10 more. Friend me. If we're not friends on Facebook, make sure that you friend me. My name on Facebook is Mark Starr, and like the Power and a Half Hour and the Coach Mark page. We have a Facebook group for Power and a Half Hour. Just search for it or send me a message, and I can add you in that group. One of the activities that we came up with about a month and a half ago, was to come up with a fear that we would like to overcome before the end of this year, and a goal that we would like to accomplish. I had a bunch of people reach out to me. My goal was to release my book to finish my book by the end of this year, and then my fear to overcome was to ride that Ferris wheel in downtown Atlanta. I had a bunch of people reach out to me over the last week or two saying that they wanted to join me. So we're going to go next Sunday, that's the 28th, at 7 p.m., right after a Lady Named Pearl's book club call-in. That's from 6 to 7. So we're going to meet at the Centennial Park at 7 p.m. next Sunday. So if you want to go, make sure you're there. Send me a message if you have any questions, and then we can all ride this Ferris wheel. Once again, a Lady Named Pearl's book club. There's a Facebook group for it. The book of this month is As a Man Thinketh. Phenomenal book. There's an audio version of it. It's only like 2 or 3 hours long, so you can listen to it real quick, but I guarantee you that you're going to be able to get some phenomenal insight and gain a whole lot from reading that book. Last message is sign up for Be Better Daily by texting Be Better Daily. That's BETTERDAILY to 411247. That's a system that I've been doing for over a year now that sends out a inspirational quote every single day, or some sort of action, but it's just encouraging, and it's free, doesn't cost you anything. So go ahead and sign up for that. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So last week we talked about forgiveness. I know it's a tough task for many, especially when we focus on the wrong someone may have done to us in the past. But forgiveness is essential for us to be able to move on to live a productive, successful, happy, fulfilled life. Now, forgiving someone, unfortunately, doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. You don't just wake up and say, especially when someone really, really did you wrong, you don't just wake up and say, you know what, I'm just going to forgive that person. It's hard. It's really, 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 really hard. But you know what? It's essential. It's necessary for you to take yourself to the next level. Now, as I thought about what I discussed on last week's call, I had an awakening. And as I thought about the people and situations in my past that have caused me the most pain, I finally found the person who has caused me the most pain, hurt, and disappointment in my life. Now, this person has let me down more than anyone else. And as a matter of fact, most people gauge what I'm willing to tolerate by the way they observe this person treating me. Do you guys have to guess who it is? It's me. Now, if we take a look in the mirror and keep it 100% with ourselves, we will probably let ourselves down more than everyone else in our lives. Now, other people get their cues on how to treat us by observing how we treat ourselves. Now, if we want people to have integrity when they deal with us, we must have integrity to who? To ourselves. Now, this isn't just another opportunity for us to feel bad about ourselves. This is just an observation that we're having that will help us to become better people. Because at the end of the day, that's the goal, right? All these observations that we're making, all these questions that we ask ourselves is to help us to become better people. Now, a few weeks ago, our action step for the week was to write down, number one, all the things you will no longer accept in your life from yourself and from others, and all the things that you will no longer tolerate from yourself and others. Now, I can guarantee you that if you are crystal clear and adhere to what you will and will not accept and tolerate in your life from others, from yourself and others, you will experience gigantic changes in your life. Now, one of the most important character traits that you can have is integrity. And the first person you need to be able to have integrity towards is yourself. That's why it's not only important for you to not only write down what you don't want in your life, but it's equally important for you to write down what you want to become. So that was the third part of the action step, is write down what you strive to become. Now, you just can't take something bad out of your life. You have to replace it with something else, or what's bad will just end up coming back in your life. So there's no way that we can sit there, and that's why when people try to change their habits and they take a bad habit out, they have to replace it with something else, because if not, then that bad habit just comes back into that space. Now, a powerful technique is to create this list of what you want to become in the present tense, and it's as if you have already have these characteristics. So let's say some of the characteristics that we want to become. I'm going to come up with a few since I have all of you guys on mute. I'm sure that you guys will embrace these characteristics. Intelligence, integrity, caring, punctual, amazing, successful, and well-respected, just to name a few. So here's how we would phrase them. I am intelligent. We need to write these down. Now, you don't have to specifically write these down, because these are the ones that I come up with, but you need to write their own list. So after you write down the list of all the things that you will not tolerate and that you don't want in your life, you have to write down who you strive to become. So this is my list right here. I want every single one of you to come up with your own list, right? And format them in this format here. I have integrity when dealing with myself and others. I am caring. I am punctual and always on time. I am an amazing person. I am successful in each and everything that I do. I am well respected by everyone I come in contact with. Now, one of the key differences between people that are successful in life and those that continue to struggle their way through is the decisions that they make. You see, everyone in life will encounter hardships or rough situations, but successful people learn from these situations. They don't sit there and complain about them. They learn from them and make sure to never repeat them again. Did you guys hear me? Successful people learn from these situations and never go back down that street again. It's just kind of like the story that I talked about last week about Portia Nelson in the 5 chapters of her life. Now, if you guys didn't hear last week's message, please go back and listen to last week's message, and especially the story where I talked about Portia Nelson in the 5 chapters of her life. Now, the reason why most of us that did hear it can relate to these 5 chapters is because we are all in one of these chapters in some area of our life or been through them. I know I definitely have. And for those of you that remember the story of the lady, you know, the first 3 chapters of her life, she kept walking down the same street and falling in the hole. You know, the first chapter, she walked down that street, she fell in the hole, and she had no idea what was going on. Second chapter, she walked down that street, and she didn't She wanted to say that, you know what, it was somebody else's fault why she dropped in that hole. By the third chapter of her life, she realized that she still dropped in the hole, but she realized that it was her fault. She took responsibility of it. The fourth chapter, she walked down that street, and now she's starting to get wise, and she walked around the hole. And in the fifth chapter, guess what? She walks down a different street. Now, unsuccessful people stay in chapters 1 through 3, and keep falling in the hole and blaming others. Successful people realize that they themselves are the ones walking in the hole and learn to walk around the hole and eventually walk down another street. So let's look at 10 things that successful people never do again. And since all of us on this call are successful, we will leave these things in 2014 and walk into 2015 without these things weighing us down. So number one, and probably the most important, return to what hasn't worked, whether it's a job or relationship or anything else. Now, the definition of insanity, according to Einstein, is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results without something being different. Now, I know everyone on this call can relate to this, myself so included. Godly, how many times have we gone back to something that we should have left in the past? You guys remember that quote that I said, when the past calls, send it to voicemail, has nothing new to say, leave it in the past. That's a lesson that's one of the hardest lessons I've had to learn in my life. Number two, doing anything that requires them to be someone that they are not. Now, one of the greatest challenges in life is being yourself in a world that's trying to make you like what? Everybody else. Never change who you are so that other people will like you. Just be yourself, and the right people will love you for being who? You. Now, remember that someone will always be prettier, smarter, and younger, but guess what? They will never, ever be you. God only created one you, and that's the only person that you need to be in this world. If you be yourself, no one else can tell you you're doing it wrong. Number three, try to change another person. Why do we always try to change other people? It's a full-time job trying to change ourselves. We can never change anyone else. You could never change anybody else. Now, here's a funny story that I came across a couple weeks ago, and I definitely would love to share it with you. It's called The Frog and the Scorpion. Now, the scorpion and the frog appeared at the bank of a river at the same time, and the frog was about to jump in the river and swim to the other side. And before he jumps, the scorpion comes up and engages the frog in conversation. The scorpion says, "Mr. Frog, I wish to get to the other side of the river, and I'm a scorpion, and guess what? I can't swim. Can I hop on your back and you swim across the river and take us both to the other side?" The frog looked at the scorpion and said, "No way! Scorpions sting frogs and kill them. I would get out there halfway and you would sting me and I would drown." And then the scorpion says, "You obviously are not thinking with your frog brain. If I stung you halfway across the river, you would die, but so would I. I'm not interested in committing suicide today. I just want to get to the other side. Please." So guess what? The frog says, "Okay, that makes sense. Hop on." So the scorpion hops on, and halfway across the river, what does the scorpion do? He stings the frog. Now, they're now both in the water about to go down for the third time, and the frog cannot believe what has happened and says to the scorpion, "Why did you do that? I'm about to drown, but so are you. Why did you do that?" And guess what the scorpion said? "Because I'm a scorpion." We lose in life. Let me tell you, people, we lose in life when we try to figure out what the scorpion is going to do. The only thing that we have to remember is a scorpion can only be a scorpion. Scorpions will always only be scorpions. Never try to change them. Here's a quote, and actually I just sent it to someone that listens in every week on this call and helps really promote this call, and I thought I would share it with you guys as well. One of the most loving things you can do for a person is let them make their own mistakes, learn their own lessons, and endure in the contrast of a life they don't really want. People only really change when they've hit rock bottom. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for a person is to let them and be there to help pick up the pieces. Permanent change comes from within. No one can give it to you. And that's by Jackson Kidder. Number 4. Let me go back to number 3. Never try to change anyone. Number 4. Believe they can please everyone. What do we call these people? People pleasers. People, we have to remember, the highest position in the world is the president. And guess what? Most of the time, the president only wins by about 2 or 3%. So that's almost half the country hates the president. The president can't please everyone. Jesus was crucified. A lot of people hated him. You can't please everyone, and you're going to drive yourself crazy trying to please everyone. Trying to please everyone is a recipe for stress, misery, and frustration. And if you live for people's acceptance, you will die from their rejection. I'm going to repeat that. If you live for people's acceptance, you will die from their rejection. Number 5, choose short-term comfort over long-term benefit. We're not doing that anymore. We're leaving that in 2014. Now, we talked about this in episode 8, Predicting Your Future. Remember, the act of thinking long-term dramatically increases the likelihood of great success. Successful people have a vision of the future and can visualize their ideal future, while unsuccessful people have short-term perspective and focus on the what, here, and now. They're not worried about tomorrow. That's why their tomorrow is always, they're only focused about today. They're not on this call. They're watching reality. They're watching whatever on TV. They're focused on enjoyment today. Everybody that's on this call is thinking about the future. That's why we're investing in ourselves to make ourselves better, because what we want more, so we have to become more. Number 6, we're not taking our eyes off the big picture. Now, this goes right along with number 5 on having long-term perspective. Henry Ford once said, obstacles are those frightful things you see when you take your eyes off the goal. That's why we got to always keep our eyes on our goal, on our vision, what it is that we want to accomplish. Number 7, trust someone or something that appears flawless. There are no perfect people out there. Now, we've all heard the quote that if it appears too good to be true, then it probably is. Guess what, people? That statement is true. Nothing or no one is perfect. Anyone that tries to come around or that you think is perfect, I don't know. Number 8, neglect to do due diligence. Now, this ties right back into number 7. Any person or situation or opportunity that comes along that appears to be too good to be true, we need to do our due diligence. Now, this isn't an excuse to sit there and take forever to make the decision, but we need to figure out every angle to this person or to this opportunity. We need to do due diligence. That's what we have Google for. Always do your research on anyone or anything that you plan to invest your time or your money in. Remember, no opportunity, no person is perfect. And not because it has flaws means that you should just walk away from it, but just know exactly what you're getting into. Number 9, fail to ask themselves why they are where they are in life. We're not doing that. We're not afraid of the big questions anymore. We talked about this in episode 6, Question Yourself. If you didn't hear episode 6, go back and listen to it because we ask ourselves a lot of very, 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 very important questions. Successful people ask better questions, and as a result, they get what? Better answers. Tony Robbins said that. Please go back and re-listen to episode 6, and don't be afraid to ask yourself these hard questions. Remember, your results in life are your answers. The only way to get better answers or results are to ask yourself better questions. Number 10, we're not going to forget that our inner life determines our outer success. Happiness starts from within. Happiness isn't about, even though we talk about goals and achieving what it is that we're striving to achieve, guess what? The happiness starts within us. Now, I'm sure that even if I took the person on this call who thinks they have the worst life right now, I can find someone that will give their left hand to trade places with you. It's all about perspective. You control how happy you are or how happy you aren't. Once you completely understand that, you will never look to something external to fix what's internal. You guys hear me? It's never about what's outside. It's always about what's inside. It's so amazing because and I'm glad I have a couple minutes left before I go to questions. But I was just listening to Wayne Dyer's memoir. It's called I Can See Clearly Now, and I suggest that anyone that's looking for a really great book to read, get the audiobook from Audible or buy the book. But it's phenomenal, and there's a chapter in there about Viktor Frankl. And Viktor Frankl, real quick, was a Jew during the 40s when they had the concentration camps. Now, Viktor Frankl's, all his family, except for his sister, was able to escape, but all his family was in concentration camps, and they all died in concentration camps. And what kept Viktor Frankl alive was his ability to be appreciative for where he was at, for him even just being alive. And in his book, he has a book called Man's Search for Meaning. He talks about all they were given to eat was some dirty water with an old fish head in there for protein. And he was able to find joy in that. And he talks a lot about being able to find joy in any situation, any circumstance that you're in. And if you're unable to do that, you're in store for a very sad life. And I've talked about this probably almost on every call. We have to be able to, everything that happens to us, because suffering, everybody suffers in life. No one goes through life and doesn't suffer. The only difference is that people that enjoy a happy life are able to find meaning in their suffering and understand why they're suffering and understand that their suffering is making them a better person. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more on another call, but that's just fresh on my mind just because I just read that or just listened to that maybe about an hour ago while I was walking, preparing, getting my mind ready for this call. Now, like I said, that is the key to happiness. So, does anybody have any comments or questions? Press ***. Does anybody have any comments or questions? You press ***. Okay. Since we don't have any comments or questions, I want to remind you guys the playback number is 718-867-6700. Don't forget, we are meeting on Sunday to ride the Ferris wheel in downtown Atlanta for all of you that are interested in doing that at 7 p.m. You can give me a call, shoot me a message on Facebook if you have any other questions. Go back and listen to some of the old episodes, www.powerinhalfhour.com. You could subscribe to it on iTunes. Share this call. If you get value from this call, share it with other people. Share it with three other people.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, this is Pearl. So the 10 things we're not going back. Hey, how are you, Mark?
Yes.
The 10 things we're not going back to in 2015. I think with number 10, I might have written it the wrong way, but I had got inner life determines outer success. But with number 10, what was the phrase that you were saying, is what we're not going back to in 2015?
We're not going to forget that our inner life determines our outer success.
Okay, not going to forget. Got you.
Yeah, we're not going to forget that.
Got you.
And that might be just as important, or not, or if not more important than number one.
Okay, cool. And that Viktor Frankl story, I read that story in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and amazing story as far as being in the concentration camps during the Holocaust, and not only inspiring himself, but he inspired others and guards as well with his ability to live within through all of that circumstance.
Right.
So, very powerful story. Yeah.
It is, isn't it? Oh my!
Yeah.
I'm gonna. I've read the book. I've read part of the book before, but I just wanted. I have it in my library, and I just went and pulled it out. I'm like, I gotta read this book next. Because that is so important. Like being able to, just being able to get past your whatever situation that you're going through, whatever suffering that you're going through, and finding that meaning in that suffering. Because all of our happiness, we have to realize, comes from within, and we determine our happiness not by what's going on the outside, but what's going on the inside. Mm-hmm. So, all right, and the action for this week is for you guys to go back and to write down what it is that you want to become, and phrase it the way that I said, like, I am intelligent, I am punctual. Write down and read over that every single day. Read over that every day. Read over exactly what it is, who it is that you want to become, and read over what it is that you refuse to tolerate in your life anymore. Okay? That's the actions for this week. And also to go back and to re-listen to any calls that you've missed. This is call number 11. So if you've missed any of the calls, or any of them really stood out to you and you want to get a little better understanding, go back and listen to them. They're all available. I have them in about 10 or 15 different places right now. So they're all available for you to go back and listen to. And if you have listened, then go back and listen to some other personal development. Make a pledge to yourself. Make a promise to yourself that you're going to spend 30 minutes a day listening to some sort of self-improvement, personal development, doing something to make yourself better. If we want more, we have to become more. All right? So I'm going to end with this quote right here. Never forget that you are one of a kind. Never forget that if there weren't any need for you in all your uniqueness to be on earth, you wouldn't be here in the first place. And never forget, no matter how overwhelming life's challenges and problems seem to be, that one person can make a difference in the world. In fact, it's always because of one person that all the changes that matter in the world come about. So be that one person. And that's Buckminster Fuller. You guys have a great Christmas and have a great night. And I'll see some of you next Sunday. Peace.